All right, everybody, welcome to the Twins Daily Postgame Pint. John Bonus of Twins Daily. We appreciate you joining. I've got with me three panelists from Twins Daily writers. I want to direct your attention. There is a question and answer area in which you can answer questions, ask questions. I would encourage you to do that. Also, if you would like to ask a question of the panelists or join the discussion, raise your hand and we'll be able to unmute you and add you to the discussion if we get anybody that is interested in brave enough to be unmuted. Again, I'm John Bonus of TwinsDaily.com. Twins win tonight. I think the score was 6-3. Am I right about that, guys? Honestly, I'm.
Yeah, 6-3.
Okay, good. I would also encourage you to we always used to start with what our post-game pint is. I brought the old trusty from Abel today in the original Winter Meltdown pint glass, the baby blue one, which is my personal favorite. Andrew, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you're sipping right now?
Yeah, so I'm Andrew. I've been writing for Twins Daily since beginning of 2018. I'm having a Leinenkugel Summer Shandy with my trusted University of South Dakota Coyote koozie. Go Yotes.
Good summer beer. Very good home opener beer. Very good home opener beer.
Yeah.
How about you, Ted?
I had to grab the Lizard King from Pipeworks.
Oh, what is that? What is it?
It's a regular mosaic hopped IPA. Actually, I think it's a pale ale, but
Giddy up. All right. And Nate, what did you got?
I have the most Wisconsin beer, I think, name ever since I live in Wisconsin. It is a Badger Sweat by Hillsborough Brewing, and it's a cream stout. So it's been it's a new find and a new favorite.
It's kind of warm for a cream stout, but I approve. I love cream
That's all right.
All right, Twins with a convincing win over the Cardinals tonight in the first of a 2-game set before they go to face Cleveland. Andrew, what struck you about the game?
For me, yet again, I mean, obviously jumping out again, but for me, again, it's just the depth of the bullpen is something that's so, it gets me so excited, especially with the way this year is structured. I think something like the Twins have 36 games in the next 37 days. So that depth is just going to be massive, for them as you go along when you don't have those built-in off days like normal. So when the Twins have 6-7 guys, you can just go down the list and, trust them to get big outs for you. That's going to play dividends because, Taylor Rogers isn't always going to be there for you to bail you out. I mean, I don't know if he's available or not. He hasn't pitched
Taylor Rogers hasn't been there at all, period. We haven't seen him yet this year. We didn't even see him in the exhibition game. He's the missing man right now.
But I mean, obviously that's not always going to be the case. He's gonna get his plenty of innings. There's going to be times where he's going to have to come in and get us out of a jam early, maybe pitch an inning, a third, and won't be available the next night, or he's pitched 2 in a row. So it's great to have that depth where you have plenty of guys. Tyler Duffy, Trevor May, Tyler Clippard, new guy coming in, Sergio Romo, Cody Stashek, virtual coming out of nowhere last year, and he's someone you can really, I feel like we can really trust him, and I think. Rocco Baldelli feels the same way, and that's just huge. And I think the other part of it is you can get guys out of the game out of the 5th inning. I think we have a bunch of guys we want to like Homer Bailey and stuff that you don't want necessarily pitching super deep. So if you can take them out after 5 solid innings and just let the bullpen do their work, it's going to be huge.
Ted and Nate, what's your takeaway on the bullpen performance tonight and I guess all season so far?
I mean, I think your article, right, that just about how deep this is, and it's just amazing. The fact that I think there's times last year that we thought we couldn't live without Taylor Rogers, and now we have lived without Taylor Rogers, and how incredible that is. Especially, it's been a long time since we could say that about any part of our pitching, that we could live without someone that good. So yeah, it just keeps jumping off.
I think you raised a good point. I mean, Taylor Rogers was being used so much last year at this time that we were worried about burning him out because he was constantly pitching both the 8th and the 9th inning, and now he disappears for a week.
I think it's interesting to Andrew's point to Stashak that he's kind of put himself in a position where he's a trusted reliever, and the Twins have started to develop that from, a handful of guys that Zach Littell gets lit up a little bit by by the White Sox, and it's kind of that next man up mentality. They have 4 or 5 guys that can play that setup man role. It doesn't just have to be Taylor Rogers as our closer, Sergio Romo as our setup man. I mean, Tyler Clippard one night, it's Stashak one night, it's Trevor May. Obviously, some of those guys are a bit more established from a veteran standpoint, but I think that's a testament to the Twins' development and then also the mental makeup of, I guess, supporting those guys, but also them succeeding in those roles and feeling like they're just ready to go out and compete on a nightly basis.
Yeah, I mean, the team's now had, 18 innings, I think, of relief, something like that. They had, 4 innings from Barrios, 4 innings from Dobnik, 5 innings from Maeda, and Bailey
5
now.
tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 18 innings of relief that they've gotten. Really only 2 of those innings has anybody done, any real damage. Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, we finally saw Romo tonight. We still haven't seen Rogers. Stashak has looked great. I mean, they have all this depth. They've got a 30-man roster. They've got 15 pitchers. They seemingly don't need that. They can just reach into a grab bag, and they all seem to be performing well. So that's good. Ted, how about you? What was your takeaway from the game?
I think, if you look at what the Twins have done thus far and being, 4-1 or 3-1, it's almost what they haven't done. I mean, I was looking down the lineup kind of at the end of the night tonight. Kepler's still batting 160. Garver has a OPS barely over 500. Sano hasn't done. He has 1 hit. They've done a ton of damage with some of their biggest players not contributing to a full extent to this point. I mean, Kepler hit 2 home runs in the first game. Sano hasn't really found his way. Even Josh Donaldson, I mean, tonight his home run barely cleared the wall, and then his other hit was kind of an excuse me single. He's got 2 infield hits outside of his home run. So the fact that they're putting up runs the way that they are without the lineup clicking, I mean,
you could take a look at that and say, well, that means, oh my God, are great things ahead. On the other hand, it could mean they've gotten lucky to get as many runs as they are. What they have done is they've bunched their hits, right? I mean, they've had the 5-run inning or the 4-run inning versus Giolito. They had the 5-run inning versus
Lopez.
Yep, Lopez. They've even had the 3-run blast in that White Sox game, and now they came out and beat up Martinez in the first 2 innings to jump on him. When they have gotten hot, they have really gotten hot. I don't know if there's something implicit about this lineup that generates that they can wear you down, or is it just been lucky that they've been able to bunch the run scoring hits together?
I think
it's.
Sorry, Andrew. Just touch on that. There's an inherent value in everyone talks about how good and there was even a couple Cardinals beat writers tonight that said the Twins are going to hit. Well, everyone thinks the Twins are going to hit based on their lineup, but there's so much more about this team that is so completely constructed that tonight they scored 5 innings and 3 runs or something like that and scored 1 the rest of the way. And it was really never in doubt because they can pitch. And they have a bullpen, and their starting rotation doesn't have a Justin Verlander or a Max Scherzer or somebody like that, but they're so complete that if you give this team a 5-run lead, I mean, Jose Barrios gave up a 5-run lead. And really, if you look back at that game, did you ever feel like that was in doubt? Like there
No,
were
in fact, I even commented on the second game that when they pulled in with the 5-3, I thought that they had a almost 50-50 chance of coming back and winning that game. Nate and Andrew, what do you think? Is this team got even more offense coming, or are they getting a little lucky based on clustering a bunch of hits?
I think the luck is more positive regression to the mean from last year when we got none of that, despite how great our offense was. I mean, if we all remember last year, main talking point is how crappy this team was with the bases loaded.
We're due, you say.
Yeah, and I think this is, it's incredible that how amazing of an offense we had last year, and we couldn't do anything in, situations with bases loaded or 2 men on. Like we had so few 3-run home runs and grand slams, and we already got a grand slam from Jake Cave this year, and I think us bunching those all together and doing that, it's just a long offset. It's basically, with the exception of the addition of Donaldson, it's basically the same lineup, and things just kind of go in the long run. And 162 games is not the long run.
Yeah. How about you, Nate? What did you notice about the game?
Yeah, well, first I'll just say I think it's amazing that we say this lineup's not clicking on all cylinders, and we have 2 games of 10 runs. and we're sitting here kind of like it's not clicking on, but it's just amazing at where they're at. And just to touch on the lineup real quick too, going tonight, in my mind I was thinking Kepler's doing great, and then I look at his stats top, like he hasn't done anything till tonight besides those 2 home runs, and that was kind of incredible. But I'm going to stick with offense because this is what just stood out to me was the fact of Jorge Polanco. He's just under the radar. It feels like he's doing great. I think 353 average at the end of the night. The home run he adds in, he keeps doing stuff and just largely goes unnoticed for whatever reason. I know someone is even, I don't know who was tweeting out, but just earlier in the weekend to talk about how, remember, he was an all-star last year, and it just kind of seems to be the theme. And we look at him and Arise and what they're putting up the middle, at least offensively, and Polanco's been doing plenty defensively too. But it made me wonder tonight, when's the last time we had a middle infield that could do this much damage at the plate with their bat? I mean, I don't know if it's been in my lifetime that we can really look at anyone. I mean, maybe I was looking back, maybe 91, we could, some Knobloch. I mean, it's a little bit different, but I almost wondered if we're going all the way back to like 69, something like that for some of those guys. But
yeah, that's a good question.
Incredible to see something.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that was. I mean, you had Herbeck and Knobloch in 91, but then you also had Pagliarulo, Leas over at third base, and you had Lombardozzi at short. I mean, fine, but nothing special. I think one of the telling things about Polanco is he's been batting third or fourth all season, and that has been puzzling to Twins fans. And it might be that maybe we're underestimating him. That Baldelli, in fact, is not underestimating him, because it was you mentioned the 2-run home run tonight. He also had some. He's also been in the middle of a lot of the rallies that have gone on during the White Sox series. I don't know. I think it's odd to see him batting. I think maybe we underestimate him because it's odd to see him batting third between Donaldson and Cruz, or in the middle of that, and Kepler's hot start and such. It just feels weird to have him in the middle of that group, but he's been worthy of it, and in fact, he's arguably been better than he's been better than Donaldson so far, and he's been better than Cruz in 3 of the 4 games, probably. He's really had a nice year so far.
I think it speaks to his value for sure as a switch hitter and being able to be that lineup proof guy regardless of who's pitching. So that he constantly puts together a strong at bat. And I mean, through the minors too, he put up good offensive numbers. I found myself kind of chuckling a little bit tonight between it was a middle innings at bat or something that I think he blooped a single in on a deeper
and
it was like, okay, he worked that count really well, and put the ball in play and whatnot. And between him and Arise, like, man, with no fans in the stadium and like hearing everything, I hope that we hear a pitcher just get irate at Arise this year, because I think it was his second at bat that Arise got to 3 balls or something like that, and it really looked like Carlos Martinez was annoyed at him for like shaking his head and like watching pitches. And it's like, you know what? He knows what to spit on, and he knows what to put in play, and what.
Mhm.
If you want to get mad at the guy, throw a strike and put it in play. Like, I hope we see more of that, and I love that aspect of this season without fans, of hearing the back and forth. I mean, when Tyler O'Neill hit his home run tonight and we heard the Cardinals dugout whistling, I mean, you're down by 4 runs and you're whistling. I mean, bump up the Twins. I mean, great, whatever. But I hope we see more of that banter back and forth.
So that my takeaway from the game, I'm going to talk about one specific play in that game. The throw to home to try and nail Arise in the second inning. It was dwelt on a lot during the broadcast. At the time, there were runners on first and second. I think runners on second and third. Arise was on third, Sano was on second. There were no outs. And Buxton grounded to the shortstop, who was playing in a little bit, brought the ball home to try and get Arise, missed him, and that ended up setting up a 5-run inning. Right? Smalley and Bramer immediately jumped on it and said, that is something you can't do. You got to make that play if you're going to make that play. Kind of insinuating that it's kind of the equivalent of trying to be out at third base, right? Or making the third out at third base. It's the sort of thing that is such a risky play that you really got to make it. The truth is that if you do the run expectancy breakdown on it, it's about a 50-50 thing. Like, if you think you can get him, then it's a good play. And if you don't think you can get him, then don't do it, right? It's not something you have to make like 80% of the time for it to pay off, right? And I wanted to just kind of show real quickly sort of the run expectancy chart on that. So I'm going to share my screen here and try to explain that really quickly. So this is run expectancy chart, 2019, from last year. And so on the left here is whether or not there's runners on base. So 0 means there's no runner, and so a 1 means there is a runner. So here, it means that there's no runner on first, runners on second and third, and there were 0 outs. So this is where the play began. That means that at the beginning of this play, there was supposed to be, on average, in Major League Baseball, just a little over 2 runs were going to be scored that inning. That was the average that were going to be scored. If he takes the out at first base and lets Sano score, or lets Arise score, well, then the run expectancy drops down to just 1 more run, but the 1-0 run has actually scored on that, right? Because Arise came home. So really, this is that right? Yeah.
It'll be 2 because it's the new situation 1 plus the one that's already been scored.
Right. If I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I got this wrong. If he gets the out at first base, then there's just Sano left and there's 1 out. So, but 1 run scored. So now it's 1.73 here, right? If he guns him down, if on the other hand, that's the safe play, throwing Byron Buxton out at first, right here. Gunning down Arise, if he makes a play, well, now there's only going to be a run expectancy of 1 and the run doesn't score, so it's just 1. Whereas if he doesn't get Arise, there's still a run and a half that can score, plus the run that already scored, so this goes up to 2. Right? And so, basically what he was gambling on is a 3/4 of a run either way, right? Either he was going to get him and gain 3/4 of a run, or he was going to lose him and lose 3/4 of a run. And, that's a decent chance to take. That's not a stupid chance to take, right? Now, it didn't work out. So
what? To add a little depth to that too, that's also based on the league average situation.
Right.
And you also got to consider your situation. You're not facing league average because who's coming up right after that? The top of the Twins order. There's nothing league average about the top of the Twins batting order.
Right.
And you're playing small ball against the Twins in the second inning with nobody out. Do you want to set up a situation? Because that's how a big inning happens, where if you get the out there, and all of a sudden against the top of the big order, the top of the Twins order, it's a lot different. So that 2.55 in reality, in that specific situation, is a much larger number because that's 2.55 for MLB average, not 2.55 for the top.
And that was Smalley's point. That was Smalley's point during the broadcast, is that you might be able to take that chance versus a regular team, but you can't take that chance versus the Twins in that situation at the top of with the top of the order coming up.
I thought it was
that was
interesting.
his point. Is it? Go ahead.
I thought that situation was interesting too because, yes, you're dealing with. I mean, Arias is not a fast runner, which to me is weird. Every time Martinez tried to pick him off a couple times, and he's not going to steal a base on you. He's not. That's not his game.
Right.
But yeah, he's not a fast runner, so you're coming home. But they also weren't playing in on that play.
Yeah. Right.
You're dealing with a longer throw, but then also the idea of, the Twins lineup, like after they scored those 5 runs, you just put up 5 runs on the Cardinals as a road team, and then Harrison Bader comes up, and yes, I realize he's super fast, but he's trying to bunt for a base hit. Like, you're down 5 runs. I mean, yeah.
The other thing
a base runner, but that I don't know. That doesn't do anything for me.
The other thing that Smiley pointed out is that Buxton's speed kind of necessitates you making a really quick decision on that. Like, you don't really have chance to size up whether or not you've got a good chance on Arias or not, and then throw to first base one way or the other, or to kind of try and get Arias to go back to third base, something like that. You can't do any of that because you've got to get to first base to get Buxton out. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting. We do have a
makes you wonder if the decision was made before, kind of the play was kind of, if this is in a spot where I've got a good motion home, I'm just going because I know I've got Buxton going down the line and maybe I can get a rise.
Right. It's interesting that Arias did not play it safe on that. Arias came home right away, right on the hit, which is, I think we're learning that he's a really fairly aggressive player, which is one of the reasons maybe that Martinez had to keep throwing to first base to kind of keep him on his toes. So let's see if we've got any questions here in the chat or in the Q&A here. I've got 3 questions in the QA. Let's see. Seth is Seth at one of the attendees here? He had something he was sitting in on I'm going to promote him to a panelist. He was sitting in on the Rocco Baldelli post game. Let's see if we can get Seth to give us any additional information here. Hey there, Seth. I'm going to see the top of your head. No, I liked it better the other way, Seth. Can you? Yeah, that's good.
You're not the only bald one here anymore, Seth. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. If I stood over here, I'd be like bright. Over here, I'm just dull. Over here, I'm pretty bright.
Would anything interesting come out of the post-game press conference?
So the whole reason I wanted to sit in on that was to try to understand how Taylor Rogers wasn't used in a save situation in the 9th. Obviously, to Polanco, they talked to Donaldson, they talked to obviously Homer Bailey as the starting pitcher, and then Rocco came in, and it took a while to get to it, but his response was simply that it was more circumstantial than anything that Rogers hasn't pitched. There's been blowouts in the first 3 games. This one was a save situation, but Romo had already gotten hot out in the bullpen in the 8th inning, so they decided to just go with him.
Because he warmed up before May gave up the home run?
He started warming up after May gave up the home run, or right as he was giving up the home run. And by the way, Trevor May looked amazing after that home run. I mean, he was just absolutely dominant.
Slider was silly, yeah.
So yeah, that was my thing. I mean, Rocco insisted that, there's nothing wrong with Rogers. Romo was up and ready to go. And, Rogers didn't even warm up. And, he talked a little bit about, you want to make sure that Rogers is strong the whole year. So anytime you get a chance, but it'd be nice for him. He's like the only guy who hasn't played yet for the Twins through 5 games. And honestly, this is a loaded roster, but as it comes and goes with like an all-pro team, at what he does as a closer is as good as what any other player on this team does in their position relative to the league. To me, it's just shocking he wasn't used.
I think it also shows something that Andrew started out the podcast or the post-game pint here with, which was that they just have so much confidence in every one of their bullpen members that, and that's not the sort of thing that most managers are going to say, well, I had the 8th inning guy warmed up, ready to go in. No, you bring in the closer because it's a save situation. That's what you do. And he's like, he's, not that I would see Rocco Baldelli, but it's almost like just sitting back there smoking a heater, like, yeah, just let him go. He's gonna be ready to go. There's just a level of confidence and almost arrogance to it at this point.
If Romo would have been taken out and Rogers would have got the 9th, the question we'd all be asking tomorrow is when Romo gets into a game, because he hasn't get to this point either. So, it's understandable. It's completely understandable. And I think that's where my surprise was. Just like you said, you just expect the closer is going to get a save situation. And we know they think a little bit differently, but I thought it was interesting, and I thought the response was he said it just matter-of-factly. He goes, no, I get the question. We're going to need him a lot this year, and we'll have him ready.
All right, we've got a question from Matthew Taylor. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's another Twins Daily writer, and I think he's going to be joining the Postgame Pint here in one of the future episodes. And he says, what have you noticed from Garver that has contributed to his slow start? He has 3 more strikeouts tonight and hasn't looked quite as comfortable at the plate as he did last season. Obviously a small sample size, but with his late breakout in his career, there is some reason to have some concern. Andrew, Ted, Nate, any of you guys want to give any thoughts on that?
I can hop on it first. I thought he had a good chance tonight against Martinez because Martinez is a fastball slider pitcher, so you eliminate one and sit on the other. But obviously Martinez only lasting just into the 4th inning hampers that a little bit. He spit on a handful of Martinez's sliders. He did strike out, I want to say, on a fastball up from Martinez. And I think he also hit a slider just into the shift. I would imagine Mitch is going to see some regression this year. I think he
admits he's going to see some regression, just so we're clear. He fully tells you.
Right, like he's a great – right, he's a great hitting catcher, but what he did last year is just – that's nutty. But we're 4 games in. I think he's got to figure out. He has a great eye, but he's feasted on fastballs, and now obviously opposing pitchers are going to know that, and they're going to flip him breaking stuff, and he's got to discern between, what can I do something with as opposed to what can I utilize, and it's not driving every pitch out of the park. It's not.
It feels like it's not surprising that there's going to be an adjustment period here.
Right.
As he deals with the fact that the entire league now has just decided they're not going to give him fastballs unless they absolutely have to.
And it's weird for him. He's dealing with an adjustment period. He's a late blooming prospect. He's dealing with an adjustment period at late 20s instead of 24 or 25.
That's true. Okay, we've got a game tomorrow. Rich Hill taking the mound. Perhaps the most important start of this first 5 set of games, just because we don't know exactly what we've got with Rich Hill, right? We didn't think we were going to have him at all for the first 4 months. All we've really got to go from is some exciting reports from summer camp. But he's 40 years old. He's coming off of a surgery. it's a kind of Tommy John light kind of surgery. Maybe we'll talk with Lucas Seehafer is going to be one of our panelists tomorrow, who's a doctor and he's a therapist, and he knows a little bit about some of the things that Rich Hill's been facing. I don't know, any expectations or any thoughts about the start tomorrow, guys?
My viewpoint on Rich, especially with Rich Hill, is anything we get out of him, I'm at this point considering a bonus. Not that I don't think he's going to do good, because I actually do have high expectations for him, because he's even been a really good pitcher even recently. But he was brought in, him and Homer Baylor brought in as two guys with initial thought process. Is that a big upgrade over Dobnik or Thorpe or Smeltzer, what we currently have? But the real answer is they have the potential to be more this season than what those guys do. But if they don't live up to the potential, they are down, we still can go, if Rich Hill gets hurt again, or if he isn't the same guy after the surgery, we can still go to Dobnik or Thorpe or Smeltzer to fill that spot until Pineda's back. So I think, if we get something good, it's a bonus. If Rich Hill's not the same, which is a possibility, we still have alternate options that, on the face of it, aren't that much different pitchers than Rich Hill is right now. So, I'm looking at it as a win-win.
Anyone else? Nate?
And kind of the length of the starters. These, I'm sorry, it looks like my internet is going out on me a little bit.
It's okay, we can hear you now.
But it just seems we've had some shorter leashes. Can you get, all right. It sounds like, it just seems like we've had some shorter starts, and I'm just interested to see changes at all with Rich Hill, where he's at, kind of that health level and a willingness to throw after some of the rehabbing and stuff. I know everything's coming out good from what we hear, so it'll just be interesting to see how that goes. And I think it's great having this bullpen that we've been talking about, that if something were to happen with Rich Hill where Deli felt like he needed to come out at 3 innings instead of the 5 or 4 that the other guys do, I think we'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, although they've been able to rely on a very deep bullpen, and the bullpen has been pretty well rested to the point where we haven't even seen the best member of the bullpen yet. They are starting this is their first of 16 straight games in 16 straight days. I think we will start to see after this, I'm assuming that through the second time through the rotation, we'll hopefully see another inning, another 15 pitches maybe out of each of the starters. That would be the ideal way to do it. So we'll see what happens. Wrap it up with the White Sox get swept in a doubleheader versus Cleveland today. So White Sox are now 1-4. Cleveland is 4-1. I don't know. What do we? Are the White Sox done? I mean, I don't want to make it quite that bluntly, but are they not as going to be as competitive as we thought they are? Does this mean it's probably not going to be a 3-team horse race?
I'll wrap with both quick. I think, just to add a point on Rich Hill, I think tomorrow's start and probably his second start, the biggest thing we take away is what the Twins need to do at the trade deadline. If Rich Hill is not a prominent part of their bullpen or their rotation, they're probably planning on Homer Bailey not being as much. They have Dobnak and Smeltzer, but if Rich Hill is not, they might need to trade for that impact starter for the postseason. On the White Sox, I mean, that lineup is fearsome. You didn't go through a portion of that lineup this weekend where you didn't think, okay, they could get back in it. But I think they're seeing, Dylan Cease could be good down the road, or Luis Robert could be a superstar down the road, or Yoan Moncada could continue this. But it's very much the 2017 Twins where there's volatility to it, and you don't just crop up and figure it all out at once. And so
they don't have a lot of time for that development to take place,
especially in a 60-game season. Yeah. Yeah, so I think they'll be there, and they're going to win some weird games against the Twins and the Indians that they probably shouldn't win, or that they, whatever. But to assume even a 60-game season that they're going to be on the same plane as two teams that are battle-tested and have veterans, I think that's kind of fool's gold.
I mean, I presume they will have Giolito back on the mound tomorrow, and then to follow that with Keuchel. With they're probably there whenever their next game is. I think it's Friday. So could easily be back to 3 and 4 within the next 3 and 4 within the next couple of days. We'll see. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining. Andrew, we're about at the half-hour mark. I should probably wrap it up. Thank you to Andrew Tharis. Thank you to Ted Schwerzler. Thank you, Nate Palmer. Thank you, Seth Stoves, for jumping in late and joining the press conference. Thank you to all of our attendees. I saw as many as 32 at one point. And we will be doing another post-game pint tomorrow night after the Twins-Cardinals game. I know that Lucas Seehafer, I think, is going to be one of the panelists. I think Nick Nelson might also be joining us. We'll see who else is going to be joining us. And we hope to see you tomorrow night. Bye-bye.